Good. All right, go live. Alrighty, welcome to Big Amateur Telescope meeting number 15. I hope you're good. I've had a little bit of a crappy day, I have to be honest. Dishwasher has broken. Mrs. Biscuit's not happy with me. But the amazing news is, okay, we had the moon, but I actually did have some clear skies this week, which was awesome. And I wonder if I can show you. I did a couple of things. Shall I find them? I was shooting the Boogeyman, the Boogeyman. I always like to think of it as the Boogeyman, but I suspect it's the Boogeyman Nebula, which is fine with the moon up in HA and S2, and also I think me and Pam and MrCrazyPhysicist were working on the Spider and Fly Nebula, which I think is going to be a really interesting but faint target. And I know, thank you Pam and thank you MrCrazyPhysicist for giving us some more data on those two. What else have we been up to? Oh, some people have been shooting the M82. Sorry, I can hear the shower going on. It's a bit distracting. Some people have been shooting M82, which is fantastic, and I'm going to be focusing on that when the moon's gone, if we have such a thing as a calm and clear night. I've actually got two quite large telescopes lined up from Bedford School, a chap called Linton, the fellow who I bought my Big Bertha off. If it's clear before the 5th of February, we're going to be shooting it with I think a 16-inch and an 18-inch telescope, which will be great. And that'll be part of my next video, hopefully. So yeah, here we are. I think, without further ado, I will consult with the BAT Man and ask him how he's getting on. How are you getting on, Steve? How are things? The BAT Man. Call him the BAT Man.
Does he know that he's muted?
Yes, he's... Oh, here he is.
I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Steve. Sorry, I got to be honest, I don't have a huge amount to talk about. I just thought I'd see how you were getting on and how things were in the BAT from your end.
It's reasonably quiet at the moment. I think where things have moved forward is the gallery. So there are results in there that everyone can see right away.
Oh yeah, let's have a look at the gallery. Yeah, so we're putting all our finished pictures in the gallery. Yeah, it's very good idea, Steve. Thanks for that getting going. Next step is to get an AstroBin account and have them in there too. Anyway, yes, and you were, please carry on.
I had, I've got a little bit of an idea as outlined by one of our processors actually, which may or may not help the BAT. Can I read my notes I've written on it? Am I okay to do that?
Yeah. What's the big heading?
It's to do with the file type and the information contained in it. If I just read my notes, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Stats for the BAT upload folder, which are either TIFF or RAW, could be accompanied by a TEP file stating what the individual sub exposure time was and how many subs were taken to make the stat. The above information would be for doing correct manual HDR stacking when dealing with subs of different exposure times so that they can be combined into one final result correctly. It's apparently a bit of a difficulty to process subs, different exposure times. If the information isn't known, sort of thing. Files already have the individual sub-exposure times included in the header. Apparently, TIFF and RAW files don't.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't understand why it's interesting. It's useful to have it for like blurb at the bottom of the picture. You know how long the total integration time was, but you know, I don't understand why you need it for processing. It's just my point of view.
Yes, I'm not totally clear on that yet. It's to do with subs of different exposure times and processing them together in one final result.
I think you might be. I think that might be a little bit of a dogleg, because obviously, if you've got a 20-inch scope, then a 30-second sub is going to be very different to an 80mm scope, sort of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. I just thought I'd throw that out there regarding our processor's point of view. I was speaking to someone about it earlier on today.
Well, maybe if that person, because we did I think we mentioned this quite a few months ago actually. My point of view on this, but I'm happy for people to disagree. Obviously, that's why we're here chatting. Is that the data is the data is the data. You know, the data depends on so many different things, and you end up with whatever you've got. And you know, someone in a light pollution area won't get as good as someone in a dark area. Someone with a higher F ratio won't get as good as someone with a lower F ratio. So, in a sense, the exposure length is really, you know, it doesn't tell you what you need to know. What you need to know is how good the subs are, how good it is. And quite a lot of stacking software like AstroPixel Processor, you can it'll weigh the subs, and the better subs will have more influence on the final. Well, I'm calling them subs, they're actually stacks for us, but the better stacks will have more influence on the final result. If you use the quality setting in AstroPixel Processor, it looks at signal to noise ratio. Well, basically it looks at the star density, so how many stars there are. The more stars, the more sensitive, the more light your sub has gathered, and also the shape of the stars. And it uses those two things to work out how much to weigh each picture that it's stacking. So yeah, I'm not sure. That's my point. I'm open. I'm going to throw it out there, but my point of view is you don't need to know for processing how long the exposures are. Anyone else want to disagree or join in on that?
Well, it's my experience that if you have, let's say, a 300-second exposure and a 180-second exposure, and the file that we're having is not really raw, like pristine, the faint data in the 300-second in the 120-second exposure will get clobbered by the 300-second one when you're talking about bright objects. If you get what my meaning is.
I don't quite know. So the 300-second exposure is going to have more faint data than the, let's just say 100-second exposure. So you want the more of the 300-second exposures data to come through on the final image, yeah? You want it to be
targets like...
Oh, if the target's bright, you want...
Yes, so for targets like the Orion, for example, in the trapezium. The lower exposure one would actually have more details on the bright section of it.
Yeah, that's true.
If you superimpose a 300 seconds on top of that, it will get clobbered.
I see. Yeah, I do see what you mean. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, I totally get what you mean. And just to, on the BAT we have all sorts of different scopes. So if someone's shooting for 300 seconds with an SCT, right, which is f10. Actually, let me move. I'm just going to move this over here. Then and then someone else is shooting it with an f4 for 30 seconds. then actually I can't do the maths, but it's something like the F4 is 1, 2, 3, 4. What is it? 8 times brighter, something like that. I'm sure it's roughly. I'm sure someone can tell me exactly the difference between an F4 and an F10 scope, but it's in the ballpark of you get 8 times as many photons. Therefore, a 30-second exposure would be the same as whatever 8 times 30 is. So it would be like a 4-minute exposure, right? So the exposure length isn't going to tell. What will tell you whether Orion is blown out or not is if you look at the exposure and you see that it's pretty bright. And in that case, I personally would recommend just doing a separate, if we were to ever shoot Orion, because most of the time our nebula isn't blowing out. It's very rare, actually. But if we were to ever shoot Orion, I would recommend, and your highlights are blowing out, then yeah, go back and just pick out some of the stacks. And the great thing is about the bright bits is you don't need lots of stacks. You could just take one stack. I mean, it's so bright, the core of Orion, there's no point in stacking hundreds of subs together or stacks. Just take one. The signal to noise ratio is so good on the bright bits. You just take one stack and you'll get take the sharpest one, I would, the one with the best stars. And I'd do like an HDR image on it, you know, so that you can bring back some of the details on that bright bit. Yeah, I think that's the way to do it, rather than necessarily look at the length of the subs. It gives you a clue, but it doesn't necessarily give you the answer. Just looking will give you the answer, I think.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Awesome. Steve, did you have any more things that you wanted to say about what's happening in the BAT this week?
Not particularly at the moment. I was hoping to image M82, but the moon has stopped me, and so has the cloud, unfortunately. I've got so far as writing out my sequence form, not got any further.
Yes, well, at least we did have a bit of clearness, and we were able to get some data. Who managed to shoot something this week for the BAT?
I have shot a lot of stuff, so Hubbles Variable Nebula, then Spider and Fly, and Thors Helmet and M82, yeah.
Awesome.
And one clear night.
That was one clear night, so have we got the Spider and Fly as a target? I was just wondering whether I could show folks what you did.
What's in suggest target?
Okay, let's have a quick look and suggest a target. It was this. Is this my one?
I think so, yeah.
I think that might. So I managed to shoot a bit of the Spider and Fly, right? There's the. Now you're beginning to see something that look. Now Pam has been working on this as well. This is not our framing. This is just. I think this is some of my subs stacked together, right? It's a very faint target. But I think that in here we're going to find, when we get more and more data, we're going to find quite a lot of nice dark fingers coming through. I think the O3 and the S2 is extremely faint, and that's going to be very hard. But Pam has done a fantastic framing on this, and it looks like this it looks like it doesn't really look like, it looks like some kind of alien beast actually with its weird tongue is about to grab this fly. And anyway, the framing makes it much more dramatic than this. So thank you, Pam, for doing that. But that's one of the ones I was working on. But I know MrCrazyPhysicist has done some amazing. There's someone's managed to get M82. That's nice. Indoraptor Tom, if that's yours, then you should definitely be you should definitely be a nerd at least. Yeah, so I'm just scrolling up. Maybe this is going to take too long to scroll up and find the things that people.
I think it's in the thread, not in the. You have to go down.
Yours is in the thread.
Spider and other stuff.
If I'd been prepared, I would have downloaded all our stuff. Okay, thread. Oh, I'm not going to bother. Maybe someone can do a link to the thread in the bat chat. The other thing that I was really liked actually was the Boogeyman Nebula, and annoyingly I didn't put my sub up. I think I put it in just the Bat Cave actually. Anyway, it's a remarkable nebula. I think it looks fantastic. I'm so surprised how big it is. We've got it in the. That's the target, right? And I actually thought it was quite small. It's not. With my 525 millimeter focal length setup with an APC size sensor, pretty much gets that. I think it's a beautiful looking target. Just to the left of Ryan, we're in the last chance saloon for this one. It is setting. If you're able to shoot hydrogen alpha and an O3 and S2, you can get this. But actually, the spider and web is probably going to be our last full-on narrowband target before galaxy season. Now, if I get a chance to show you, here's one. Oh, MrCrazyPhysicist, this is your M82. Is this just hydrogen alpha?
Right. There was almost full moon, so I could only shoot hydrogen alpha.
Yeah. So, I mean...
we also have some older data from other guys that already uploaded, I think, a few hours of RGB and hydrogen alpha.
Yeah, so a chap called Joel submitted some fantastic data for this. Now, whereas the last two that I was talking about, the Spider's Web and Fly, and the Boogeyman or Boogeyman Nebula, are sort of regular sized targets. This is really kind of like a high resolution target. It's a galaxy, believe it or not. It's a starburst galaxy. Something crazy is happening, which is causing these incredible filaments of hydrogen alpha. I think there's either something crazy going on with the supermassive black hole at the center, or some kind of shockwave rippling through the galaxy, which is, I think, creates lots of stars. But I've read about it about 6 months ago, so I'm sort of winging my theory about M82 a little bit, I have to say. But we know that it looks great in hydrogen alpha, as MrCrazyPhysicist has shown. It's also really interesting one to shoot in infrared. And I think people who are in the city and on moonlight nights might want to experiment with that. And furthermore, it's going to make an amazing lucky imaging target because there's lots of dark dust lanes. What we want, really, for a lucky imaging target, because we don't have enough people who are high resolution imagers, we're not able to really resolve sharply anything other than the brightest objects at the moment. We will improve when we get more high resolution images, but this central part of this galaxy is pretty bright, and it does have dark dust lanes on it. And I think, and I'm sure MrCrazyPhysicist is going to give it a go, I'm going to give it full on go when the atmosphere is calm. I'll be sleeping in National Trust car parks in the middle of nowhere, going and visiting people with big telescopes to try and get this. This is the one I really want to nail, and it's going to be in the sky for quite a while. So if there's something I can do that I'd like to do from this meeting with all the people here, is to encourage them to shoot bat targets. And I'm pushing M82 for those of us with the bigger scopes, Boogeyman, which there's not a lot of time left to shoot that one, and the Spider and Fly. But I'm keen to hear from other people, particularly people who have got other targets to shoot. I'm really interested to find out what wide field target we really want to be focusing on right now. I don't know if Stefan is here. Is Stefan here? No. So yeah, I'd love us to have a wide field target to go for. Something that people who've like got, not a lot more than a camera lens can go for, and a tracker. I've only got one other thing to say, to be honest. But before I say that, I'm just going to throw it out there. Does anyone have any more wide field targets that they think, or any other targets that they're going for or they've got data for? Does anyone have any targets that they want to suggest? No? Okay, before I say my last thing, I'll give anyone who's just joined the BAT and doesn't have a clue what's going on to ask a question. Any questions about the BAT before we move on to the next thing? Nothing. Everyone knows it all. Okay, well then I'm going to pick on a few BAT mods and see if they've got anything to report. So Real, Paul, how you doing, mate?
Oh, sorry, woke me up.
You can't. The thing is, right, me picking on people, right, because it's quite nice, Saturday night, maybe you've had a glass of wine, I don't know. Quite nice to just sit back and relax and get on with something else whilst listening to me waffle away, I imagine. Probably quite good if you need to get to sleep, you could listen to me yabber about. So I've woken you up. How are you getting on?
No, I was playing Elite Dangerous and watching you at the same time. I'm all right. I had one night where I did some spider and fly data, but it wasn't very good because it was a massive moon. But that's it again. 3 nights in 2.5 months clear. And not a lot I can do, to be honest.
I wonder whether we're going to run into a slight problem with the spider and fly, because I asked Pam's here actually. Hi Pam. I asked Pam I was quite like, oh, I want it to be wider, I want it to be the framing to be wider, so that when we clip in we can really choose our exact framing to get that kind of spider weird thing attacking the fly looking really cool. Because, you know, when you make these space objects kind of have a little sort of look like something, they suddenly become more powerful, which is interesting, I think. So we've made it quite wide, and I think our framing reference is quite a lot wider than your setup, isn't it? So
I think so, yes.
So I'm suspecting you're going to have black edges on your when you upload your data, and if everyone's got black edges, then I think stacking it is actually going to be a bit problematic. It's all right to have a little bit of black edging around the corners, but if the framing reference is too big, then that might cause a bit of a problem.
I do have one a fraction smaller as well.
Well, let's see how we go, Pam. I'm not uploading my stuff until I've gathered more data, because rather than doing like uploading, 3 lots of hydrogen alpha data, I might as well just do it all in one big go. So yeah, we should have a think. I think that Paul's setup, which is an 8-inch newt, isn't it, Paul? You've got, and your camera is APC sized, is it?
Yeah.
So you're pretty much, you may be at the slightly higher focal length of a typical regular imager, I would say, but relatively standard, a little bit more zoomed in. But I guess we might need to Pam, I think even though I love the framing on it, it might be that we need to trim it down a little bit. What do you think?
The framing is actually bigger than my field of view.
Yeah.
I basically made it big for you.
You totally did.
Mine is actually quite a bit small. My image scale is significantly smaller than that.
Yeah, so you're definitely at the height. You're definitely more at a higher focal ratio than most.
565.
Ah, that's not very high.
It's with the reducer. That's basically where that is.
And so your camera size. What's your camera size?
It's a QH29, so it's like a 4/3.
Yeah.
Not CCD, so it's not one of the big new ones.
Yeah. Oh, I think we will have to make it smaller again, but somewhere half. Yeah, sorry. I really like the framing that you did, though. I really like those big wings that you managed to get on the weird creature thing. It's a shame, but let's rather than mess. I don't think many people are going to be uploading their stacks because we've got quite a long way to go on it.
Yeah, but MrCrazyPhysicist did basically seem to be able to get a mosaic fairly quickly, and he seemed to stitch it fairly well.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that's because I have a C14 hyperstar at f1.9, so I can capture.
Yeah, no, but mosaics, but stitching is I've done a couple of mosaics myself, so it can be done. It's just it would take me an exceedingly long time with my setup.
I think we might run into a problem with me, and this is down to me sort of saying, oh, can we have it wider? Can we have it wider? And then with people uploading and using the reference frame and doing everything correctly and getting black borders around the edge, I think that's going to end up causing us problems.
I did deliberately centre it up, centre the reference frame so that it will handle larger and smaller whilst actually still having the main parts in the centre.
Yeah.
So we do have options in terms of trimming the whole thing down, and actually having the reference frame slightly bigger, I think it might make it a little bit easier on some of the stacking software as well. Otherwise, you might actually have to start handling it as a mosaic for stacking.
Yeah. So the only thing is, because the black frames are there, when the APP puts the black edges are there, when APP stacks the frames up, it'll be stacking, let's say we have 10 frames and half of them are black in one corner, that corner is going to be really dark.
You can sort of trim those out a little bit. There's a little bit of work to do up front.
Yeah.
So,
anyway, yeah.
Actually, I had a little bit of a play with that as well. Actually, some of the noise reduction in PI does seem to be quite good at selectively picking the noisier parts of a single image. I was having a play with that.
Okay.
So it's sort of like, so I did a frame, I did a crop where there was I had a lot of data in the middle, and some of the bits at the corners were a little bit more iffy.
Yeah.
And the noise reduction in PI actually did actually deal with that. I didn't really want to crop it any more than I already had.
Interesting.
And it didn't do too bad a job on it.
Okay, brilliant. That sounds good. So I'm just gonna say the other thing to mention is that we have an event tomorrow, which is Philip, who I don't think is here, has got my iTelescope account, and I've said at 4 p.m. UHT, is that the right thing? UTC. I always think of GMT. So at 4 p.m. UTC, that's right, isn't it? That's the sort of standard universal time. He will be in here, the BAT chat, on the controls of my iTelescope account, and basically he doesn't know how iTelescope works, but it's I don't know how many telescopes they've got. I'm going to take a guess at 35. Dotted around Australia, Chile, and Spain, maybe the other place. And basically, whoever's in the BAT chat at that time can help choose a telescope and choose one of the BAT targets and set the telescope off, shooting the BAT target. Of course, what's brilliant is Australia's dark at 4 p.m, so we can actually start getting some images coming through live. Which I think will be really fun. I was given the credits, so that's fantastic, but I certainly would like them to be used on BAT targets, particularly some of the ones I mentioned, but also maybe we should get a wide field target going as well. So if anyone's interested in, I don't know how, I have used it once, but it'll be really useful, I'm sure, to have more people there, because you have to decide what scope, what aperture, the exposures, and with 35 scopes to look through, each in different parts of the world, I think it will definitely benefit having people to help hone in on which scope we want to use for which target. and all that sort of thing. And at the same time, I'm sure iTelescope will be really happy, and because it will mean that you'll be learning how to use iTelescope, and for free, which is great. And I was chatting with one of them. There might be a chance of some kind of sponsorship at some point in the future. So that could be very cool, and they're very nice there. So so 4 p.m. tomorrow here. If someone's very clever, actually I'll try and do it now, although I can't normally speak and do it. I'm going to copy this invite and pop it in the come on. You see I can't talk and do this at the same time. Pop it in the Batcave. So if you're interested, do click the interested button just there, and that'll give you a reminder as to when it's happening. Okay. And that really is it from me. But or shall I pick on another mod? Skippyishappy, are you able to talk? Because I think you were. Don't worry if you're not.
Hello.
Hi, mate. Is Skippy happy?
Relatively.
Relatively. Okay, we can work with that. How are things going? I didn't catch. I think you had some more plans for other things to do with clever bots and stuff. Is that right?
My plan was just to make the results pushed to like a DB and allow people to log in with their Discord, like the click to log in. Same way, I don't know if you've used Lightbucket. It's kind of like a thing where when you're using your telescope, it uses Nina and it shows what people are imaging at the current time. It's like app.lightbucket.co, I think. And you can see what other people are imaging around you and around the world. But the way you log in is with your Discord. Kind of, there's a click to log in, and I'm using kind of the same way you use Google to log in places.
Wow.
So my plan is like when the bot gets a message from somebody in the chat, it'll just link it to their username, and if they log into the web app, they can look at their past historical results. And that way we could provide more information than just kind of you would put in the chat.
Do you think it might be possible for us to know what BAT members are shooting at any one time in some way, shape, or form?
It's probably possible. I was actually thinking it's like if more people were using Nina, then you could probably make a thing that would show a list of what other BAT members using Nina and the plugin are shooting at the same time. Or maybe make a drop down of BAT targets in there. That way you could just select one of them. And it knows like the coordinates of what they are.
Well, and Nina, in Nina, you could do it.
Yeah, in Nina. Yeah.
Gosh, that is super cool, isn't it? Wow. How do you know all this stuff?
So I got an Eagle 4 and it was broken with Nina because they tested with an Eagle 3. And so I had to fix a couple bugs related to the Eagle 4. So I've been looking at the source code a little bit. It's pretty easy to work with, I think. And the plugins are relatively like about the same also, same architecture as the core app.
And but is your job, like, are you like a computer whiz essentially? Is that your job?
Yeah, it's my day job.
Okay, wow. Well, that sounds super cool, doesn't it? Maybe when the bat gets bigger, that would be very, very cool, having targets on Nina. Gosh, that would be cool.
Yeah, I was thinking it might be a little dangerous to make it where you just click a button that says sync to main or something like that, and then one person does it and all the scopes move. Because you'd probably just have everybody just impact some type of peer or something, destroy all their setups. But
wow, God, that's funny, isn't it? Imagine having the power to do that. That would be amazing.
Oh,
but I think
was it interferometry via BAT?
Interferometry. Tell me, what does that mean?
Well, that's basically how the radio telescopes do it. Is you basically have the different scopes and different parts. You use basically a baseline.
Oh yeah, the very I remember that. The very large base into VLBA something or other, which has the radio telescopes all over the world, doesn't it, in the network? and then there's the one that's just Europe. Yeah, I remember now. Yes, I don't think we can't do that with optical though, can we? Get the same.
Not really.
No. Wow, Skippyishappy. That sounds. I tell you what. At some point, having the BAT targets as a just being able to click on a drop down and tell your scope to point at the right framing of the Boogeyman. I'm going to call it Boogeyman. I know it's Boogeyman, but that's just amazing. So sorry,
well, it's very similar. There is an exoplanet plugin which basically does something very similar.
Yeah.
Sorry, Skippy. Tell me about the thing that you actually did do though. Bearing in mind that I'm a bit slow on these things.
Oh, so far, I mean, I haven't done anything other than the bot, but
Okay.
the bot. I guess I also was looking to see if people actually enjoy the way that channels kind of transform into more of a post and get a response rapidly, rather than kind of submit a sub and kind of people discuss it.
I'd be interested to find out how it's going down with the BAT mods. I know not everyone, I don't know that there are any of the BAT mods who are in charge of that channel here, because it was quite labour intensive. With the labour intensity though, there was a time actually, particularly when a chap called Roland was here, where there was quite a lot of interaction between people who were trying to get the collimation of their scope sorted out. So how do you think it's going with the bot?
For me personally, I think I'd like to see a way to that more formal kind of way. Like I think it was described to get like request feedback beyond just the score, and then also include other. Like that's why I'm kind of working with the web, like submitting it to the website and having to do more background processing to get more information from other apps to show the collimation issues and things like that.
Oh wow!
But
wow.
I figured that if the process is going to take 15 minutes, then people don't want to wait 15 minutes for a score on the Discord bot.
And is there a way of having it upload the data onto the spreadsheet as well? Is that at all even possible?
What I was thinking is to start maybe on the spreadsheet, just start by having a column with the ID of the job that ran with the score.
Yeah.
That way you could keep track of which, and then you could look it up on the web app to see what the details of it were. Because I think that's one thing that I've noticed is like we don't really have any information about what filters were used or how many seconds the sub was. Kind of those kind of details, the gain and things like that. So I think it'd be nice to compare apples to apples with gain, I think, and things like that. Because I'm always unsure, like, if I should up the gain a little bit and reduce the exposure time. But I'm not trying to like maximize the score or anything. But I'm just curious what other people are doing sometimes.
Yeah, well, I shoot in infrared and keep the exposure short to get my full width half maximum down. By the way, for people who don't know what we're talking about, on the screen now is the register of scopes. So here's mine, for instance, Astro Biscuit, Big Bertha, and it's got how sharp they are somewhere here. Where is it?
It's on the left side, the very, very left.
All right, yeah, so 1.8 arc seconds, so I'm doing pretty well with Big Bertha. That's not bad. That's the full width half maximum of the stars. This is actually quite useful for just figuring out, if you're in the game for buying a scope, it's quite useful information, knowing what scopes do what, how good. And of course, it all depends on the seeing. When someone was shooting, we've had terrible seeing in the UK for quite a while, so it's quite hard to get a low score. But at least it gives you an idea. And the smaller scopes, of course, the seeing doesn't affect them so much just because they're smaller. So if we go down, I'll just do it now actually. If you go down the list, you'll get some much smaller, there's a red cat there, which has a full width half maximum of 8.99. But so that's, you would expect a much less resolution with a smaller aperture scope. Anyway, it's all really interesting. Thanks, Skippy. That's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't. Let's just keep shooting. Let's keep shooting these targets. I'm going to make a video. it was going to be about Lucky Imaging NGC 891, but there was just no weather. It was terrible weather. But I've got a really good feeling about the weather over the next few weeks. We've already having some brighter skies in the UK and some calmer weather, but we've had moon. And I think, having looked at the long-term weather forecast, which is not very reliable, of course, but in broad brushstrokes, it seems like we are going to get better weather. There are going to be brighter patches, because we've just been through such a terrible run recently. So I am going to be making this Lucky Imaging video, and if it gets 100, 200,000, 300,000, might even get 500,000, some of them have got 500,000, my videos, then we can expect a lot more people arriving on the BAT. And I feel pretty good about that, because we seem to have gotten mostly the processes sorted out. I'm really glad that we've got the BAT Man here, and I'm, stuff like what Hatmandu is doing, stuff like Paul's instructions video, just in case anyone doesn't know about the instruction video. In channel 3 instructions, there's the BAT instructions, where you can learn everything you need to know about uploading data and downloading data and everything else, and suggesting a target for the BAT. I thought we were it seemed like we were reasonably busy for a few days last week, but I guess it goes with the weather. I think that we don't really have enough people here yet to make it fully work. But I'm also aware that the weather's been absolutely pants. So hopefully both things are going to improve. We need the weather to improve before I can make that video, and when it drops, I really do expect a lot more people to arrive, and we'll really properly see whether the BAT works. I mean, we know Lucky Imaging works. MrCrazyPhysicist has shown us that it does. And we know that gathering lots of data works. It's really, it's really two more things: whether we can get enough people who are good at imaging and are willing to do it, whether people actually want to do it innately, and whether we've got enough people who are willing to help moderate it and keep it going. And that's always been kind of like an unknown. And I think we have. I still feel good about it. I still feel like, we've had some great results. I just feel like, and I know it works, I just feel like the potential is there for it to go up. But at the same time, if in 6 months we haven't got more people significantly working together and enjoying doing it, then we'll have to think about carrying on or not. We'll find out. I think it is going to work, but at some point we're going to decide whether it's a success or not. It has worked to an extent. It's just I think we need more people. Anyway, does anyone have any questions? No questions. In that case, anyone got anything they want to say? Because I'm going to sign off.
Just one quick thought I had earlier when we talked about the Nina integration, where you can just maybe log on and pick a target. Wouldn't it be nice to have a small app where you can just say, hey, I'm starting imaging, and then you can see all the current targets, and then you can connect it to Nina, and just, if you shoot that, the data will be automatically submitted to somewhere, so that you just choose your target, start Nina, and it does everything automatically.
Wow.
Have you guys, has anybody seen the app Light Bucket kind of plugin for Nina?
No, I heard about it when you told me 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, so if you open up a web browser, just go to app.lightbucket.co, then you'll see, it just shows this basically thumbnails of everything that's being imaged with Nina with the plugin right now. You can do something very similar, at least. I'm not sure about uploading, where you'd upload raw vids to, but thumbnail JPEGs at least you'd be able to do.
So the only problem with I tell you what, it sounds like a fantastic idea. Sexy Yoo-hoo. But the only thing is the flats, in it. We really do need people to do the flats and their bias and what have you, or bad pixel maps as well.
I mean, there's always the option to integrate a system where you first need to do the calibration frames and then you can start shooting. So that you need to step process that you can even start shooting and submitting data to the database or whatever you want to use.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
It's always assuming that people use the same computer to do the processing that they do for the acquisition, which I don't actually.
And also, I think it would be fantastic, but I always do my flats the next morning. So, because I never have enough, by the time I've got polar aligned and everything, I want to start imaging. Yeah, but it would be something like that would be, I think, a bit more integration would be really, really cool. And it would help get us a lot more data coming through. If there was certainly point to the target in Nina would be fantastic. Maybe Sexy Yoo-hoo, the thing is, if there was a place for people to upload their subs straight away, then they just have to upload their flats and whatever as well later.
Yeah, or maybe just that you collect all the data, and if you check all the things you need to submit the data, then you can finally submit. Like that you can just start shooting, but you also need the proper calibration frames for the lights, and then you can submit the data and not like just lights.
I think the idea is like it's beyond us right now, but it's something to think about for the future, maybe.
Yeah,
I can start with a proof of concept where it just pulls from the internet the list of targets and maybe has like a reference frame that it'll pull.
And I also think it would be fun if it was relatively easy to do what Light Bucket does, which is it'd be great to tell other BAT members that other BAT members were shooting other BAT targets or even the same target that night. I think that would be really fun.
It actually shows. It shows also like stats for how many like minutes, seconds on each or hours you have on each kind of filter for each target. It's pretty cool.
It does need to be idiot-proof though, and here's the idiot, because I have installed it, but I forgot to turn it on again after I did all my calibration frames. So I didn't think that anybody was particularly interested in me doing all my tasks.
Well, you have Light Bucket, Pam.
It's installed on. I have it actually installed on my acquisition product, but I basically I disabled it when I was running all my. I redid all my dark libraries.
Yeah.
And it got turned off.
You thought it would be too boring for people to know you were doing your darks. You didn't.
Well, I basically do a lot of them.
Okay. Well, I mean, Skippy, if you ever get the chance to have a look at that, I think that would be fantastic. And we have a few Aussies here. Does anyone from Australia want to say hello, or is it just too early?
G'day, Rory. Yes, you from Australia.
Hey, so Mladen, this is this is the chat from iTelescope. So thank you for joining us.
Indeed, I was just curious and thought I'd pop my head in.
Yeah. So how are you getting on?
Life has been pretty good, actually. Comet Leonard has generated a lot of interest. People have been taking images of all sorts of weird, wonderful things. It's a great job to have.
I was actually thinking that because right now I'm making a video. I'm doing two actually. One about the sun. And before Christmas, it was just mayhem, and I had to do some other stuff, and it was all got in the way of just making videos. And it's so nice to actually get a chance to make a video. And the sun is so interesting, and lucky imaging is so interesting. So I actually was quite pleased as well. It will run out. The happiness will run out when the money runs out. Unfortunately,
we will actually be putting up a solar telescope this year for your interest. So hopefully, that will generate a bit of interest from you guys.
So we're going to be doing a ITelescope session tomorrow in the channel.
I saw in the chat there was. Looking at what to target and what to spend the points on, and let us know. There's more points coming if you guys need it.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. How much? So I've said so. So actually, taking the helm is going to be a chap called Philippe. I will be around, of course, but I won't be there the whole time. I've said to him he can use 150 credits. What sort of thing? I think I'm saving some credits in case I need to shoot Hubble's Variable Nebula. Sorry, I'm clicking a pen. It's probably very annoying for everyone listening. What sort of, how much would 150 credits, what do you reckon? What sort of session?
It's a difficult one. It's a difficult question to answer simply because you jump on a big scope and do lots of 900-second exposures, and your 150 points will disappear pretty quickly within a few exposures. And then you look at some of the smaller systems. We've got a couple of Takahashi FSQ-106s where 150 points during full moon will get you 3 hours worth of exposures or 4 hours worth of exposures. So there's quite a spectrum of spending that can be achieved. So it's really depending on if you want to go for a wide field target or you want to zoom in on a tiny galaxy. The world's your oyster. You can pick and choose.
I wonder whether.
To start out, I'd pick something like. What's a good target?
Well, we have to do one of the BAT targets, Mladen. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, if you've got
so
that target channel, quickly, what's the current BAT targets listed?
Well, there's ones that we're particularly interested in. M82 as with quite a big scope, probably we'd want to do that one. The Spider and Fly, Boogeyman. So there we got Witch's Head, although that's probably leaving us now. What else we got? Thor's Helmet. How are we getting on with? Actually, fellow Aussies, how are we getting on with Thor's Helmet? Do we have much data on that one yet? And I think MrCrazyPhysicist was shooting it as well.
Yeah, we have some hyperstar data, I think about 2 hours of HA and 1 hour of O3, and Space Cadet has also captured some data.
Oh, Space Cadet is here as well. Are you able to talk, Space Cadet? Is it too early?
Can you hear me?
No, it's only 9 a.m. in Oz.
Getting on for 9 a.m. Yeah, so you managed to get a bit of Thor's Helmet, huh?
I've also probably got about 5 or 6 hours worth of data on that at F7, I think.
Well done. Yeah, I think
it's coming along, but I was hoping to try personally get closer to 12 hours this season, but there's still a fair bit of time left on the target, so it's looking good.
Yeah.
Quickly trying to jump onto telescope here.
Okay, so are you going live? Are you, Mladen? Are you heading?
As in Telescopius to just get framing and so Thor's Helmet.
I think.
30.
I think.
Yep. I would suggest narrowband data on Thor's Helmet if you guys haven't got it yet. That would be a good use of the points.
I think what I'll do is I'll up it to 200 points, and I'll suggest to Philip that we get 2 targets. One, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Hello, not. One maybe with one of your bigger scopes, and one slightly more wide field.
T30 is good for Thor's Helmet. We've got a 20-inch plane wave there, so that's pretty rocking.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for popping in, Mladen. That's really nice.
That's okay.
Really
I'm
nice
happy
to hear.
if anyone wants to private message me or look at targets, please do. We'll work out what we can do for you.
Oh, awesome. And I apologize I haven't been on that much, iTelescope. I just had a terribly busy Christmas, and I did
no problem.
I did actually shoot one thing. We're using the 135mm lens you've got, I think, in Chile. I set that off, but unfortunately, either user error or I think it was actually bad weather prevented that from going through.
Yes, believe it or not, we do get clouds in Chile from time to time.
Yeah. Which was unlucky. But I just felt like I needed to start doing stuff, and I wanted to involve BAT members. So we're pushing ahead with that. So thank you very much.
I kind of see our telescope as a supplement for people's data if they've got their own gear.
Yeah.
It just helps add. If they want to get a really sharp luminance layer, then our telescope can help do that.
So tomorrow 4 p.m, folks, if you want to learn how to use iTelescope. And if you want to help choose targets and help Philippe, who's he's a fairly young lad. He knows his nebula though. He's pretty good, but I think particularly.
So is that 4 p.m. London time?
It is, yeah. I'm afraid. So in fact, Thor's helmet would be a good one, wouldn't it? Because you'd be able to image it pretty much live if we wanted to. If there was a scope.
You can, the dilemma is you're pretty much sitting there waiting for 300-second or 600-second exposures to be done. And it's kind of like watching paint dry.
No, not that first one, mate. There's 300 of seconds of pure nerves until it lands. And then it's either heaven or hell.
Pretty much all night. So that would be a perfect time.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
I'll see if I can get on tomorrow with Philippe. That would be great. 4 p.m. Could work that out.
Oh, mate.
I'll stop booking.
4 p.m. What time is it for you? It's like a stupid o'clock, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Well. Okay. Does anyone else have any more questions? Or anything about anything to do with the bats, preferably? No one. I noticed Ben Spacey snaps. I haven't spoken to you in ages. Are you able to talk?
Yeah, I haven't been around in quite a while, but I'm trying to get back into it.
You've been on the server quite a lot, though. I've seen you helping out loads.
Ask a Nerd is where I hang out and procrastinate.
In Ask a Nerd, so thank you very much for doing all of that. Yeah, you've been a megastar with all that. How are you getting on?
Doing good, yeah. There's been lots of clouds down here, as I'm sure you know, all in the UK.
But how's Keck doing? Have you been able to get any time on that?
Keck is good, yeah. We actually have some problems. Our main data server with all the data on is down right now. So.
And have you discovered any more planets through direct imaging lately?
No new planets discovered, unfortunately. A lot of science being done, but nothing interesting to report.
Okay. So before I ask someone else a question and pick on someone else, you have this opportunity to say anything you wish about anything at all.
Anything you wish? Well, that's exciting.
It's a bit of an open...
The event will be pretty interesting. I've had quite a lot of experience. I've taken, I think, about 30 images using iTelescope.
Oh, cool.
So I'm quite familiar with the system. Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, and actually, MrCrazyPhysicist, I just wanted to check up with you. Is Hubble's Variable Nebula doing anything, or is it still pretty quiet?
Yeah, I was afraid that we could not capture any data, but on Thursday we had clear nights, and I and Teco, I think, captured some data, and there is still not really much activity going on.
Oh.
So we have data coming in at a regular basis, but no activity.
Yeah, well, we got the ripples, which is nice. But what a shame, huh? What a shame. I mean, it was this time last year, I was in exactly the same position. I was actually using Telescope Live's telescope in Chile. and all through January there was nothing. And actually most of February, and then it did start kicking off late February, I think. So it could happen at any time. I just really hope it does. Anyway.
And hopefully not in the summer months.
Yeah, no. Well, don't give it ideas. Okay, well, does anyone else have anything? I wonder if there's anyone else I can pick on before I sign out. Going down the list. Alex, you're there. You've got your microphone unmuted. How you doing, sir? How's things? How's tricks?
Do you mean me?
Yes. Paranoid Ninja, Alex. Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah. I'm good, thanks.
Good.
Yeah,
good. How's the
weather, of course.
How's the stuff at uni? How's the research going?
Oh, pretty good, yeah.
Good.
A little bit of problems with the ensembles, but nothing too serious.
Good. All right. Well, that's I think I'm going to sign off. Steve, before I do, any last words from you?
I have nothing to add at the moment. I'm sorry. I think you're set to go, really.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna
just all looking for good weather, aren't we?
Yes, it's coming. I feel it's coming. I really do. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for helping out, everyone. Thanks for coming along to this meeting. Please, if the weather breaks, please get some of our data. Particularly, I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to go to BAT targets. M82 if you've got a big scope. This fella, Boogeyman Nebula, Boogeyman. I don't know how Andromeda's going. Whether people are still shooting that. We probably need to do it.
For that, isn't it?
It is getting a bit late. We really need to clear out some of the targets that are old, actually. And we need to add the Spider and Fly Nebula to BAT targets as well. So that it's
But we're not settled on a reference image for that one yet, are we?
Well, Pam, do you mind just doing the honours and just plumping for something? And we'll go with it. Maybe we do need to go slightly more zoomed in than we're at the moment. What do you think?
Well, the one that I did actually make one originally that was slightly smaller than the one that you've seen, but I still have the old one, so I can.
So if it's the one that I remember seeing, I thought the Fly was a little bit squished up against the edge. If it's, yeah, I think the problem is I'm sticking my oar in, isn't it? And it's probably better if I just either do it or stop sticking my oar in.
Well, I can show you. Let's have a look. I can show you what my own framing was because it's. Where is it?
If you're able to copy it.
Let's see. Copy.
If you're able to stick it in the Bat cave, that would be awesome.
Here it comes. And this is basically all my old stuff. And then I added the stuff I got the other night.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, go with that.
That's basically framing with like my camera, 560 millimeters.
Yeah. Yeah, that's lovely. That's great. That's great. So without the black edges, that is the framing. Perfect. Thank you very much. And we'll make that an official target. Yeah.
From my point of view, I'll probably be okay with that. I just need to probably reshoot what I've done, just set my rotation to match close to that, and we'll be okay. That's from my point of view, anyway.
This is actually the same. I actually sort of aligned this with the reference I'd already done. So this is sort of like a process that way. So it's the same center.
And if you've got APP Paul, you'll still be able to use your old data in combination with your new data, yeah. With the
I do. I have FPP.
Yeah. But you're happy, you know about those. I'm sure you do, but I'm just saying in case you don't. The LNC and settings and things like that. Which yeah. Okay. Good. All right.
I'm good with that. But
awesome.
It was just a case of getting the right rotation, alignment.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll call it a night, and I will get back to hopefully getting the dishwasher working later. I think it's stuff though. I think it's game over for the dishwasher. Anyway,
what's to do? I can help you with that. But this isn't the place or the time, is it?
Yeah. No, it's. I think it's the electronics. I've done everything I can. Everything within my powers with pipes and cleaning pipes and stuff. I think it's the electronics has gone. Anyway, we'll not. Let's not go on. It'd be interesting actually, Paul, if we did start talking about dishwashers. How many people would politely hang around in this chat before click it out? It could be an interesting test. Anyway, all right. Bye everyone. Thank you. See you next week. And fingers crossed that we have clear weather, and please get some data for the BAT. All right. Bye.
Good night.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.